fortunate. Which room? Or just the main room?
Downstairs.
Downstairs. Thank you for doing that. Are you driving yet? You're not driving yet, right?
Yeah, just not by myself.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I was gonna say, get out of here. I don't even know how old.
I want you to know that I'm working my butt off the last couple of weeks on Planning Center.
Nice. What are you doing?
Well, I was cleaning up all the profiles to figure out who's active and who's not. Then I generated a whole whack of lists for staff needs. So some of it's on plan text, so they can instantly say, okay, who needs a waiver? They just have to report to them. Others, like when 403 came, I set up a list suggesting consistency. Who's registered? Do they have all the waivers and the letters of
Okay, everyone, let's move into the sanctuary.
Tell them.
We almost need a buddy system for you responsible people to bring the irresponsible people in. For those as kids, there is childcare downstairs. I think it was Abby and Sam. So if you want to send them down there, I'm sure it'll be a loud, good time. Just to fill the dead air, you guys will find this funny. The last 3 times I've run a meeting in this church, I've been sick. Every time. Isn't that bizarre? Yeah. Or maybe I'll make Adam run it next time, right? Claire had to even cover for me once. I was so sick. Craig, how's that foyer looking? Is it fairly empty out there yet? Okay, we're going to start going. Okay, thanks for joining us for our congregational meeting. Today, the big topic is the budget. We have a full stack of elders staying on this year, so there's actually no elder nominating committee elections or anything like that, so it's fairly straightforward today. We'll have some updates later on, that sort of thing. Most of you will know me as Travis Keekstra, co-chair with Adam. And yeah, we're going to walk you through the day. John Esbrooks, John Stoko, and their team will be the highlight. So thank you for coming and staying. We'll try to keep it decently straightforward and quick. So Adam's going to open us in a word of prayer, and we'll get going.
Thanks, Travis. God, we thank you that you love us. You are mighty, and you have a plan for us. Thank you how you care for our church. Thank you for how you've blessed the people in our church in the past year, and how you look after all our needs. We can rely on you, God. God, we thank you for this time together. We pray that we would see your vision and see where you want us to go, and see just how much you love us through this time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do, you can see the agenda up on the screen there. Have a look at that. While we're doing that, we're going to be sending around attendance sheets. We need members, importantly. We need to establish quorum on the meeting, but we also would love to see adherents write their names down for those who are joining us to learn about where our money's going and some updates for the future. So please make sure you sign that. I'll remind you as we go out throughout the meeting. So with the agenda up there, the first motion would be to accept the agenda, and that would be a motion and a seconder, and then we can discuss if anything needs to be added or not. But if I could have someone, Ned's right on it. I love it, Ned. And a seconder. We got Phil over in the corner. Okay, so we need to vote on that. So this is for members. Please raise your hand if you're okay with that motion. Any nays? Okay, thanks. Well, we're going to jump right into the budget, and John Esbrooks and John Stoko are going to walk us through that. I think it's first 2025 and the current status, and then we'll go into the new budget.
Okay, we're going to start by looking back on this last year and how things have gone for us. I'm going to take before I go back there. All the numbers, the detailed financial reports have been in the newsletter for the last couple of weeks, so I'm not going to read them for you. And those of you who don't like numbers, you'll be happy to know I'm not going to read them for you. But we're going to take a 30,000 foot look at what some of the significant things that parts of the financial statement that you should be aware of. First of all, revenue. Where does our money come from? You can see here that 90% of the money that comes into our treasury comes from donations. That means it comes from our pockets, yours and mine. And so thank you for being generous in that regard. We have 8% that comes from rentals. We have some space that we rent to other groups from time to time, and that provides a little bit of revenue as well. And we have invested some reserved money in GICs, and so that gives us about 2%. But you can see from this that the church runs on donations. It's donations that make everything that we do here possible. So from that point, where does it go? What's the trend line? Well, if you look at the last 3 years, 2023 is the first data point. That was the dislocation year. We weren't meeting on Sunday morning, we were meeting Saturday evenings. We weren't meeting in our church, we were meeting in the Baptist church. Our midweek programs were either seriously dislocated or non-functional. In that year, donations were still $500,000. The following year, 2024, we were back up in your own building here and running regular programs and getting going. And there's a 4% increase that year in donations. This last year now, 2025, a further 9% increase. And so your generosity is showing there, so we appreciate that. That's what has made it possible for us to continue with the programs of the church. So where does the money go? This is kind of the normal accounting way that you distribute distribute the funds or look at the record of it. Staffing accounts for about half of our expenditures. Our facilities, another 17%. Administration, about 10%. And our own internal ministries we carry out here are around 6%, and our partner ministries, 16%. So what does this mean? The partner ministries, that's the money that we contribute to other organizations that carry on ministries out beyond our doors, things that we cannot do ourselves. And so this includes our missionaries, other missionary support agencies of support, things like the Wellsprings, the Pregnancy Center, Rocky Mountain College, Rivers Edge Camp, our denomination, Evangelical Missionary Church of Canada, carrying on ministries on our behalf, and we fund them to the extent of about 16% of our budget. Being our own ministries, ministries that take place here, generally, they don't cost us a lot of money because they're done by volunteers. And so this 6% slice here does not represent the impact of the ministries that we have. If you look at everything from the nursery, the children's, the youth, the various adult groups that we have, this all is done by volunteers, including the worship teams, the tech teams, and all that. And so the dollars look small, but the impact is much greater than that. The administration is kind of the stuff that has to be done to make the rest work. And so there's subscriptions for software programs. And of course, the usual paper and toner and those things amount to about 10% of our budget. Facilities is 17%, looks like a big slice. Two big things in there are utilities, around $35,000 a year, and insurance, $22,000 a year. You take those out, and we're down, that takes care of about over half of that 17% slice there. But this, we found out what it's like to try to run a church without a facility. We don't like it. It doesn't work well. And so it's money we put into our facility and maintaining our facility is money well spent. And of course, our staffing is the core of what keeps us going, the glue that keeps the organization together and leads us and guides us, provides inspiration, and so on. So that's the accounting way of looking at it. Now, looking at our target ministries, again, if setting aside the facilities and the administration, for example, look at the rest of it is the ministry side of it. If you divvy that up somewhat arbitrarily based on where it's going, what's the emphasis of it, the 14% there is worship, leading us to worship God. 54% growing and belonging, that's the teaching, the fellowshipping, the discipleship, and all those things that happen. And 32% for inviting and serving is outreach, missions, and the other things we do outside in our community, and also, as I mentioned before, around the world in our broader community. Now, this graph looks very nice and clean and precise. The numbers are not, because they're based on broad estimates. For example, all of the payroll, half of our budget, is allocated in here somewhat arbitrarily based on where our staff spend their time. And so I somewhat arbitrarily picked some numbers. And I'm not going to try to defend them, because if you ask me tomorrow, I may give you different numbers. But the intent here is to show you the intent, the general picture. I'm not going to defend the precision, but I will defend the indicativeness of this in terms of where we spend our money. For example, you could argue, we could discuss this morning whether Pastor John's sermon was inspirational, leading us to worship, or if it was instructional, teaching us to be better disciples. I made a call. I'm not going to defend it, but that's what we come up with on the numbers. So, big picture. Total income for the operating fund last year, $636,000. Expenditures, $573,000. Net difference there is $62,000 that we have excess of income over expenditures. And thank you, because you can see from the first picture that all of that comes from our pockets, virtually all of it. And so thank you for that. But that's not the whole picture, because we have other money and other funds set aside for various other purposes. So the general fund, you see here, $55,000. And so you're going to say right away, if you're quick, you're going to say, we just found a $62,000 surplus. Where's all that money? At the end of the year, we decided that we should maintain a balance of about $50,000 in the general fund to cover the vagaries of cash flow from month to month. And so we transferred $113,000 from the general fund to the building fund. And that's why that big number is in the building fund. So why do we want that there? Well, you'll recall in past times when I've stood up here, I've talked to you about our furnaces, that they're approaching life support. And we're coaxing them through one more heating season. And this summer, we'll be replacing them all. And Bob Glass and his crew have been investigating various equipment options and settled down now to pretty much what we want. And the price tag comes in at $128,000 to replace all our furnaces. So that's where most of that 6 months from now, that number will be very different. But fortunately, over the years, our congregation here has been generous enough to put aside this money so that we don't have to come with a special crisis demand or something to raise money to replace these furnaces. The money is there, and part of it is what was accumulated this last year. So that's those two funds. The board reserve, $113,000 there, is for unforeseen, unbudgeted, unusual expenses that will arise from time to time. For example, recently we had a flood in the kitchen. We did not see that coming. We had not budgeted for it. And the total bill to get things back to where they should be is around $12,000. That's going to come from that fund. And so that gives us the opportunity to cover those things without having to come to you and say, oh, we got a problem. This has been provided for. The operating reserve of $150,000, I'd call that the emergency reserve. Our intention, our hope is to never have to touch it. But if the things really fall apart, if donations crater for some reason, we get really unusual costs that we can't handle, we've got about 3 months of operating revenue there that we can keep us going while we make adjustments and get ready, used to whatever the new reality might be at that time. Like I say, it's money we hope to never touch. We also have $43,000 in the generous fund. This fund's the food pantry and other things that the benevolence fund comes up with from time to time. And we got a small amounts in the sabbatical fund and a little bit left over from the last mission trip. So that's the total financial picture for the church as of the end of the year. Just over $500,000 in cash. And of course the building is separate. We haven't, that's not showing on here. But this is the general picture of the church where we're at. As of the end of the year. The audited statements will be ready for the AGM when it comes up in a couple of months, but their numbers will be substantially like this. Have I baffled you? Have I left anything unsaid? Any questions that you want to clarify?
Awesome job.
Oh, thank you. I would say that of all of the financial reports I've given, this is one of the nicer ones. Yes.
My question is, with all these cash, so got people watching online? Yes, I should know that. Nice job, John. We got a lot of cash. Is it just sitting in a bank account, or have we invested it, or kind of do we make some of that 2% interest on some of this stuff? How's that go?
Yes, we have invested, a bulk of that is invested in GICs, 400,000 of it. This year we had 350,000 in last year, we moved it up to 400,000, keeping enough liquidity so we can cover whatever might come in with especially with the furnaces. We're going to need a lot of cash, but yes, it's in GICs and getting reasonably good rates. But we stayed with GICs rather than going to some of the other options because, first of all, we want security. We do not want to jeopardize the principal. And secondly, we're not investors. We're not an investment bank. That's not our business. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time trying to maximize the financial return on that. We want to be prudent, but we're not a bank. And so stay with our core business. Thank you. It's a good question. Anyone else?
I just have one more question. What is the sabbatical fund actually used for?
Under our policy, our pastors are eligible to take sabbaticals, generally a few months, 3 or 4 months, or something could be 6 months, a year, and it's at the discretion of the elders. And so it's, that money is set aside for that purpose. If one of them, if the elders decide to award a sabbatical to one of them, we may have to supplement that because that wouldn't take us very far, but that's seed toward it. Okay?
Come in, Lolita.
The roughly 62,000 in surplus, do the elders get together, apart from sort of allocating in these funds, to decide what that surplus will be earmarked for? And is it ever spent on operations or on missions or any of those issues?
Yeah, the Finance Committee actually monitors this on pretty much a monthly basis, and how our finances are going. And so when it came to the year end, we see that we're going to have a big surplus. We looked at how much we needed to keep in our reserve, in the operating fund, and then decided that the balance, whatever that turned out to be when the dust settled, we would transfer. We recommended to the elders that it be transferred to the building fund, knowing that we're going to have a big hit coming with the furnaces. That's not by formula, that's by decision each time. But our intention is to probably maintain about a $50,000 surplus at the end of the year in our in the operating fund, and anything beyond that we'd recommend to the elders might be used in that situation of very year to year, depending on what we see coming. Good? Okay, we'll move on then. There's one more thing I want to, oops. Okay, John doesn't have that. I didn't get that to you. I guess that slide for January. Is it there? Okay. Okay, good.
I'm doing this or you doing this?
I'll do it. I'll do this. This is the, just for January, right? Yep. Okay. For January, the donations are unusually high. We got an unusual one-time gift, probably one-time, we're not sure. In January, they made our donations about double what we had expected, what we had budgeted there, you see. The other income is relatively small. Our total expenses include the
insurance.
Pardon?
Insurance.
Insurance. Insurance is, we pay that once a year, and that wasn't paid in January this year. So that $22,000 boosted our expenditures up. And also, we pay the contributions to other missions and other agencies. We pay those quarterly in advance. So the first 3 months have been paid in January. And in spite of that, we still had enough income in the month to cover that. So, good. And like I said, this is one of the easier financial reports I've been able to give because of you. Very generous, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm just going to add here in regards to those donations for January. We received a very generous estate gift that was given to us in part in 2025 and in part 2026. But we did also receive a separate, a very generous one-time donation in January. And so we, as you see, we start the year off in an incredibly a good note, and it allows us to look after insurance and all of those things and be done with them and over with again for this year. So are there any questions? Perhaps John's left a little, maybe quick. Any questions for John regarding the monies to start this year? No? Okay. So what we'll do is we're just going to consider this the context then for the budget that we're going to walk through now. Again, the budget has been emailed out, I think, over the last couple of weeks. Hard copies were available in the foyer. What we've done the last couple of years and seems to work is I'm just going to walk you through the significant changes in the various categories in our budget. So we're talking changes of greater than $1,000 in any of the particular places, and we'll answer any questions that you may have as we go along. So starting with the salary and the staff costs, if you had the budget or looked at the budget, our numbers actually have stayed quite similar to last year's. We've had an $11,000 increase, and that's across kind of all of our staff costs. For those who are curious, that refers to things like the pension plan and sorry, I'm looking where I'm at. So it's the government costs, it's EI, CPP, and then the denominational costs for Pastor Justin and myself. So $11,000 increase there. None of the lines in this area have decreased. The overall change to the whole salary section of the budget this year is just $10,700 and change. And just to keep things in front of you, our bookkeeping services. We have very generous volunteers looking after our bookkeeping services, but we do have dollars earmarked in the budget for that, should there be a need to hire that out at some point in time. And also a stipend for maintenance. Those are located in other categories, administration and facility. Speaking of administration, we've had a number of changes here. So the notable increases, $3,000 increase in the budget for hardware. It's kind of one of those things where one computer goes, they all seem to want to go. And so three new computers are needed for staff this year. And we did add a little bit more in for bookkeeping services. This again, dollars that we're not anticipating needing to spend, but we felt we needed to budget for them just as a prudent matter. A number of decreases in this area, and this is where it's going to get a little wonky. So phone and internet, we brought those costs down by $6,000, and that is mainly because we're simplifying our phone system, and then most of the phone costs actually slide in under IT support, which is 3 lines down, okay? So just keep that in mind. So that's the reason that line goes down by so much. Stationery and printing costs come down by $3,500. We did a fair amount of research. Our printer was at end of life, and we've been able to find a printer with much, much less expensive maintenance upkeep costs, and so that drops tremendously. The IT support would go down by closer to $8,000, but we moved phone and internet services into IT. Now, our contract for our IT support is with DaVinci. They've been looking after our technical needs for a number of years, and they called us up. You love it when businesses do this. They called and said, we think you're about due for a new contract. We don't think you need to pay as much. I said, well, please come in and talk to us about that. And so very grateful to DaVinci for that. We were able to do quite a bit of work at bringing those costs down. And I don't think she's here today, but just want to mention that a good amount of the work on this and finding savings and finding the actuals for these vendors and printers and all of this really is credit to Holly, who just grateful for her work in the office. And then service fees, those are banking fees. And I'm not sure how banking fees are down, but we'll take it. They're down. So under administration, the total overall change is a decrease of $6,800 this year. Facilities, as always. Utilities go up, and so does our insurance. I believe our insurance this year is about $22,500 is the bill that's already come in and been paid out. That's up from $19,000 last year. And no surprises for any of you who own homes, electricity and water are up significantly. I will mention we're working with Alex and Anna Louie, who many of you will know. They have a couple of businesses that they run. One of them is they monitor the electricity usage of the building through a system that they have installed, and then we get regular feedback that allows us to do everything from regulating our furnaces better and the new furnaces when they come. So for instance, we're not heating the sanctuary on a Wednesday night when nobody's here, for example. So we are wanting and hoping that we will see these costs come down, continue to come down somewhat, but when the electricity rate goes up, the overall cost is still the same. No decreases under facility. Bob, you are not a cheap date, I guess. The overall change for facilities is $8,600. We're going to have Bob come up in a few moments when we get to some ministry updates, but just want to throw some kudos your way. Bob does a phenomenal job of looking after our building and tries to rope a few people in here and there to help with various projects along the way. So we're just really grateful for those who look after our space, and it is a fairly large building, and there's a lot to look after, so indeed. Church-wide ministries, this was a new category last year's budget. You get a new treasurer, John, and they want to change things up. So John did a little reallocating and moved some ministries around. So just until, we'll keep explaining this until you are familiar with what church-wide ministries is. But really this is meant to be kind of a bit of a catch-all. So those things that impact multiple ministries, it's not just tied to youth or it's not just tied to seniors. These are things that affect kind of across the church. And so some of the staff costs, so the cost for us to have meetings and the cost for staff to travel are included there. But then our kitchen costs and our food and beverage costs all makes up this relatively small category. And there's been no significant changes this year, $300 increase. Worship. This year, the notable increase for worship, we've put an additional $3,750. $3,500 of that is for sound panels. We came back after our fire and we found all of these echoes that we did not have before the fire, both in this room, in the foyer, in the lower auditorium, all around the building. And we've had a number of people, thanks to Travis and friends, for panels on the back wall in this room. If you don't know, all of the panels behind you were donated or given, or stolen, I'm not quite sure of the phrase, but New West Symphony and Orchestra had these panels given to them by Eau Claire movie theater when they closed down. They used all of the panels that they could in their new space, and then they donated the rest to us. And so that has all been gift. And yet we also continue to have to deal with ongoing echoes. And so this is temporary, I promise. How temporary, we're not quite sure yet, but we have put a bit of money into the budget to help with some of that. And then I think we've already warned the elders that those funds that John talked about being set aside, we may come and ask for a little more support there later on. No notable decreases in worship, and the overall change is $5,100. Kids, be kids. We've added in $1,300 into equipment costs. $900 of that is going to be for a sensory room. We're going to talk about that in a little minute when we get to ministry updates, so I won't say too much more there. But like the panels in the worship budget, we do envision this being kind of a one-time cost. We don't see this necessarily carrying into next year's budget, although hopefully we will be able to keep adding to that space. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that, where it is. And I think Noelle is even offering tours a little later on. No notable decreases. The overall change in the children's ministry is $1,900. Our fellowship budget, we're just already nearing the end, folks. No real changes there. Again, most of what happens in fellowship happens thanks to kind people who volunteer time. And so much of what happens under these areas are there's a small fund for instance, under women's ministry or men's ministry. Generally, those are considered user pay events. We ask for costs to cover those events, and then elbow grease and volunteer time keep those costs down. $50 change in fellowship, folks. Youth. Let's not forget our youth. No real increases, although there's a couple areas that do bump up near to that $1,000 change. There's a $2,000 overall change coming. I know one of those areas, and maybe Justin's going to talk about that, is I think after maybe much requesting from the youth, or maybe it's just you want it. I think there's going to be some swag coming, and we'll actually get our youth and our youth leaders in some shirts or sweaters and those sorts of things that kind of identify them as a part of this church. I think onesies. Great. We'll do pajama day here at church and see how that goes. So, community engagement. So this is not missions, but this is looking into our neighborhood. How do we do some of our outreach? No real changes there, but a total overhaul of $750. This is the area where we would see things such as Alpha, Grief Share, some of those things that are not intended to be just for us, but for reaching out into our neighborhood. And ministry partners. This is the relatively new name for our missions section of our budget. The notable increase here is a $2,950 increase to our denomination. We have, as members in good standing, we are asked to give 5% of our previous year's giving. And so that's just a mathematical equation that's kind of put there in front of us. And so when we finish the year and we know how our giving ended the year, and as you saw already, it was a very generous year as far as gifts that were given. That impacts the amount that we give to the denomination, and so therefore that increase there. No notable decreases. We're not looking for that in our missions section anyway. And as you can tell, the vast majority of that was that denominational increase. $3,250 is the overall change in that aspect of our budget. So, some summary, and certainly happy to take your questions. I know we've gone very quickly. So we are proposing to you a budget of $616,000 income. The expenses are, I believe, $615,773. So we are, if everything goes according exactly to plan, we'll have a $27 surplus at the end of the fiscal year. So the 616 is a $26,550 increase from the budget of 2025. Okay, from the budget. The primary reasons, if you want to kind of boil it down to nuts and bolts, the primary reasons is a modest increase in staff costs and wages. Utilities and insurance take a big hit on that, and our partnership payment to the denomination, and then some money for our sound treatments. So those are the areas that really factor into the increase in the budget this year. In summary, continuing, we are budgeted to receive $53,000 in rental income and $7,000 in investment income. This is the monies that John spoke about earlier. And so, with using those numbers, to meet budget, we have set a giving goal of $556,000. And if you'll notice, and I didn't want to hide this, I want to be right up in front about it. In 2025, we received $569,000. Now, it's not typically our goal to put forward a budget that is smaller than the giving that just concluded. Because one of the concerns is that people look at this and go, oh, wow, we can take our foot off the gas. We don't have to give quite as much. Everything is covered, especially when we know that we've started the year so well. But I would just encourage you that budgets reflect a moment in time and intentions at a moment in time. A great amount of work went into this. I should say many thanks to all of the staff and the ministry leaders, to the finance team. The elders sat with this budget on, I think, 3 different meetings. But as we pay attention back, just to be preaching, go back to my sermon, not knowing necessarily what the call is for us tomorrow or next week or next month. And I very much believe that God hasn't finished giving us what does he want us to do, and what does he have for us. And so I do want to encourage us to continue being generous in our gifts, because I think there's still a great deal for us over the horizon. So our goal last year had been 530, and we received 569. And so our goal this year is 556, and the overall budget, again, is 616. So to meet the 556, giving would need to average a little over $10,600 a week. Last year, the giving averaged $10,950. So we're right in that area. So in some measure, if we can continue to give as we are, and continue to ask God where he might challenge us in our generosity, pretty sure that he will see us through. That was a lot very quickly, but we also don't want to belabor this. Are there any questions? I'm suspecting I will defer to John or our elders, but questions on the budget I can answer.
Just to add one thing, there was the larger gift in 2025 as well. That would affect.
Oh, yes. Please talk in the mic.
James, there we go. Just to reiterate, we did have a big gift in 25 that would affect the income there, as we're budgeting for a lower amount. Excuse me.
Are there questions? Is this thing on? No, that's good. Wonderful. If that's the case, we'll just simply say thank you. I know that many of you give above and beyond what's easy to give. and we don't want to take that for granted. Just thank you for not just supporting a budget and a bunch of numbers, but for supporting what God is trying to do in this place. Am I turning this over to you now?
Just for a minute, and then we'll get back to your team. So the process in the church is that the finance committee proposes a budget with the work of John and his team, the staff. So we've got John and John, and brings it to the elders, and we would then approve the budget. However, this is also your budget. This is what you're giving to. So what we want to do as well is get an affirmation from the members and adherents here that you guys, this is a budget you're willing to give to. You see what we've put forward, what the team's put forward, and you feel good about it. So this isn't a motion, this isn't what, but as a show of hands for everybody here, do you support this budget? Are you willing to give to this budget? And so in that, as a show of hands, are you guys willing to support this budget? Thank you. And anyone that wants to have questions or have a little concern, you're also willing to put your hand, or you're welcome to put your hand up as well. And we want to answer those questions that you have that maybe you're not willing to have here. So if anyone wants to, I'll just look quickly and we'll answer those questions when we need to. Okay, thank you everyone for that. I'm gonna hand it back to John and some ministry updates, staff updates, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're in the home stretch already. Okay, we're going to do, we have a number of ministry updates, and so I'm not going to do all the talking. I'm going to ask those who are giving updates if they can come forward and have a seat, and then we're just going to kind of rattle through these real quick. So Noella for B Kids, Justin for Growing Young. I don't see Brad here, Bob.
Well, the two items I was going to bring up, John's already discussed it in his discussion.
Oh, okay, sheesh. Bruce for missions, and if you guys can grab a seat, that would be great. And then I'll wrap up with a couple of things. So we're going to start with, I guess we're going to go ladies first. Noella, you're up, and our ushers, we have our mics out, roving mics out. We can take questions. So there'll be someone near each of the aisles. If you have a question for any of the ministry leaders as they share, just raise your hands, and we'll field your questions as we go.
You didn't tell me there would be questions.
Also, make sure you've signed the attendance sheet. I forgot to mention that last time I stood up. If you've come in late, make sure you sign it.
So we've got a bunch of kids downstairs, so that's why we're hurrying this up, and I get to go first so that I can run down and check on them. But when my kids were 2, 3, 5, and 7, the 5th one was not even a thought. Our family was part of a very small church. The average attendance was about 40 people. I was part of the team that did kids ministry during the service, which meant that I parented all week, got the kids ready for church, came to church, and looked after my kids. I had some really great times. Oh my goodness, we learned so many cool songs. We had some great lessons with puppets, but it was tiring. And my mental health took a dive that spring, not just because of church, a lot of other issues, but I hit rock bottom. I got to a place where I felt like I needed a break. I wanted someone else to do the kids' ministry and wanted to just sit in the service. So we picked up our kids and came and tried out Bonavista. Right away, my kids were welcomed, cared for, taught about the Bible, and I could rest. The kids were happy, excited to come to church, and even though it took Malcolm and I longer to feel like we were a part of it, we were happy to be here because our kids were happy. That leads me to now. We have some amazing families coming to our church, and I want them to feel the way that I did, that their kids are welcome here, cared for, and taught about Jesus, so that the parents can rest and feel part of the church family. Unfortunately, I am only one person. There are a lot of kids. We have such great helpers and teachers on my volunteer team already. There are times when I'm downstairs and I'm walking in between the classes and I actually get teary because of the conversations that they're having in these classrooms, the insights that the kids are coming up with, and the things that they're learning, the prayer times they're having. It is just amazing. If you ever want to come down, I will give you a tour of these amazing classrooms. But right now there's 2 kids who need a bit more. Maddie has this mischievous grin, and she loves being around other kids. She doesn't talk, but when you remind her that she's not allowed to play with other people's hair, then she gives this eye roll that you know she's going to be a teenager very soon. She'll sit and watch the other kids, and then she'll motion that she's ready to get up and move. She can walk independently, but prefers to hold your hand and take you where she wants to go, which is usually to another classroom to sit and watch some more kids. Kaiden has way more energy, but will stop whatever he's doing if you offer him a hug. He loves to cuddle. And as you help him with stickers and sit him on the spinny chair, which he can spin forever. I get nauseous after one twirl. But then he runs to the main room and runs circles around us adults, gets some energy out, and then back into the sensory room to do some more stickers, climb on some blocks. He's also nonverbal, but when I tell him again that he can't go into my office, he'll push his button on his assisted learning or on his iPad that tells me that he's frustrated with me. Then we offer him a ride on the plasma car, and he's back to smiling. Both of these kids come from great families. Both are loved, cared for at home, but their families need rest. And I want to be able to give their families that rest here at church, even if it's only for 45 minutes on a Sunday. And I desperately need help with that. People to be aides. They need one-on-one aid. It doesn't take any special powers. It doesn't take any special classes or learning, but they have such amazing parents that if you come and say, I want to help, but I know nothing, their parents will walk with you every step of the way until you are comfortable with helping with their child. Their parents and I are always available to help during the services, anytime. I'm always around there, and their parents are more than willing to come downstairs and deal with anything that we can't deal with. This is one of the ways that we can make sure that our families in our church are cared for well. And we need you right now. I do not have hardly any people left, and the kids come every week. I don't want to put our 2 volunteers left on every week, and so I need you to come and talk to me about being an aide. And if you have questions, come and talk to me. I'm willing to chat about what might work for you, what we can do to make you feel comfortable with these kids. And along that same thought, John was talking about the sensory room downstairs. This was the first Sunday that Kaiden really noticed that it was for him. And we tried to pull him into the main room because the kids were getting prizes for their sticker charts. So we said, Kaiden, do you want to come get a prize? And we'd pull his hand, and he'd come into the main room. As soon as we dropped his hand, he was back into the sensory room. Apparently, he likes it. If you want to, it is down the stairs at the far end of the auditorium where my office is. I would love to show you around there. It's a really fun room, and some of the other kids have found it. We are not using it as a toy room, though, or as a playroom. This is specifically as a sensory room. So we're asking that if your child needs some calming down, you can use it with them. We just don't want to have kids playing in there by themselves. We also have lots of other fun things coming up in Be Kids. Next Saturday, we're going to be baking memories. That is my sort of fun name for just showing you my love of baking. Open from 9 till 12. You can come and go. Come bake with us. This is open for everybody, not just families, adults. I would love to have some of you come and bake with me. Grandparents, singles, teenagers, whoever wants to come. And Another event is that Bonavista Church will be running VBS this summer for ages 3 to 10. If you want to help in the planning, I would love to hear from you. I've also said yes to co-leading family camp at River's Edge Camp, July 1st to 5th. So you can come out as a family or you can come and help me lead. I love my time at camp. They do have camps for everyone, actually. Men's retreat is coming up in March. A grand camp for grandchildren to bring their grandparents to bring their grandchildren to, or grandchildren to bring their grandparents to, one of those. And teenagers is coming in June. Now, Micah, my daughter, has worked at camp for a couple summers, and her very favorite week is teenagers. It's open to ages 55 plus, and she absolutely loves that week. And I get to go in a couple years. With all these things happening, I'm looking for some help behind the scenes. If you would like to help, even just for a day or two here and there, I'd love to work with you. I really love my work here at the church. Working with the families, but getting to know helpers and volunteers. And I want to thank you for cheering me on, helping, and giving so that I can do what I love as a job. And John says I have to ask if there's questions.
Thanks, Noella. Can I close yours, John?
Sure.
That was too hesitant. I'll hold down your space key and restart your computer by accident or something. Hey, so I guess I got to sneak in a young adults or a youth announcement in the service. So I want to talk just a bit about growing young. Technically, I'm not supposed to talk about it, but it's rare that we're all together. Growing young is something that John and I were prayerfully discerning, and it was an obvious yes from the get-go, but there was other good options. When I was in a prayer meeting, I remember an elder saying, God, help. We need help. What's the direction here? And we were just asking this question, how do you bless people? And what she got back was, you bless their kids. And so I think it's clear that we value kids, we value our young people. And so growing younger is basically our attempt to lean into a strength and a desire that Bonavista Church has had for a long time. Shout out to Dwayne in the 90s, long time. We love our young people, and we, as every generation, have been loving the next generation. And so I think we all have this shared desire to be a church that blesses each generation after us, and at the same time, there's young people who are blessing teenagers and all the rest. So that's what growing younger is. It's our attempt to lean into this as a strength and in a desire. Some cool people on the team. I got 4 students, and then in this room we also got Ned Benner and Lisa Screever. And we're actually not supposed to talk about it right now because we're in a listening phase, and in a couple weeks we go a little more public. But the idea is that we've got this incredible team who is just quietly listening right now and learning a bit about this. I'll show you this, even though I shouldn't. Fuller, Pastor Murray went to Fuller a bunch of times. It's a great institution, and they've really informed some of my work as a youth minister. But they did this big study and found 6 qualities that churches who are growing younger, and the default is to grow older, I think we all know, because if you don't do anything, you'll just awesomely grow older like God designed. But if you grow younger, you continue to brace the next generation. So these were 6 qualities here, that young people are prioritized in every domain of the church life, that we are the best neighbors we can be, that there's key chain leadership in a sense, like, do people have the keys? If you trust them to usher, do they have keys to do it? Or if you trust them to do something, can they make decisions? Empathy is huge. Taking Jesus' message seriously really matters to young people. Warm relationships really matter to young people. Obviously, this matters to all of us, right? And I'm not allowed to show you more. And if you're confused or curious, you just have to wait a little. But we'll have a survey coming out. And how about this? If you want to know more, if you want to learn more, you want to lean in, for now, the job is to pray. This is a cohort of churches all across Canada gathering together. And Don and Michelle Sawatsky have been praying monthly in a meeting. with other churches across the nation. If you want to just join in praying that we would be good listeners, that God would spark some cool experiments, but really that we would just be a church that would continue to, that God would give us a vision for fostering this desire that we all have and have had, and that we can just go sort of from strength to strength with this. Youth are amazing. Life is so good. 403 was awesome. We're doing youth worship here on the main stage every other week now. We got a student who came to faith last year, and I thought it was because of camp. And she came to our church, and I thought it was because John and I had a wise answer. But then I found out that it was because she's had a grandpa who's been praying for her salvation for years. And so we got a cool space where there's more there's some hot coals showing up in our church. And it's because we got leaders who have been stable for years. Thank you, Lolita, Michaela, and Justin, and so on. So it is very special that we have like this cool foundation, and it seems to me that God's trusting us with a bit more. And so pray in, press in. And eventually they grow up, and so we need this better and better and better. And so next Sunday, we're having lunch at my place. Young adults, if you're 17 to 27, and you're not like one of the 5 graduates last year who all went to study abroad, it's like jeepers. But so this is going on. It's going to be great. You'll see the picture there. That was shortly before the fire department got called because people thought we were drowning while we were floating down the bow. But it's always a good time. Young adults is great, but yeah. I could say more, but that was my quick. Good stuff going on. And again, what a gift it is to be here, right? Bruce, your turn? Oh, questions. Who cares? Bruce? Who cares?
Thanks, Justin. I'd like to give you just a bit of a missions update. First of all, I'm happy to report that after, it seems like many years in the wilderness, we have added new members to our missions team. That would be Rebecca Rayner, Willen Wieland, and Jason Anderson, who is back there. So that is great news. They join the current team of Donna Morton and Brenda Graham and John, and for the time being me. And it's really for the time being me because after 8 years, I'm going to be stepping down as missions chair at the end of the month or so. So it's been a real privilege and joy to serve on missions for all this time and see all the changes, and to be part of a church that supports missions so well. And I'd like to thank you all for your mission support through the years. It's been a real adventure getting to know our missionaries and walking beside them in their struggles and their joys and their triumphs, and all for the sake of the gospel. I think if I have to, just think about 8 years in missions, the things I learned about missions, because I didn't really know that much about it coming in, about how church missions work, was that it's amazing to me how much our missionaries, like they're doing full-time Christian service, give up for the sake of the gospel. The things they have, like Dan Chappell going down to Mexico and going into remote villages where the local people with their other worship practices are actively resisting, physically resisting the message that he comes to bring. Or even the Elliots with their lifetime of missionary service and then the health issues that have gone on in that family, I think of Zach and his work with the skateboarding ministry, a group of people that I could not do it, but he can. God gave that to him to do, and there are so many examples. My wife and I have been supporting missionaries since we were in our 20s, and we still continue to support missionaries. And I would just encourage you all to seriously consider supporting the missionaries we have in our church, or the missionaries we support, or missionaries that from other places. Even if it's like $10 a month or something, if enough people do that, it really makes a difference. And it makes a difference to them to know that people are supporting them through prayer and have gone the next stage in our relationship and actually financially supporting them. It's to me, it's been a big part of my Christian journey. And I would just like to encourage all of you to consider that.
So you stay up here, please. Delia, would you come up? So Bruce, we wanted to take a moment. We thought it would be appropriate. Sorry, you're checking your notes. You finished? Okay.
Yes.
We wanted to, that's for you. We wanted to take a moment. We figured 8 years of herding the cats in missions deserves just at least a moment of commendation publicly. And so we reached out to our missionaries and said, what kinds of things are you willing to say publicly about Bruce Loden? And Delia has, I think you've got 3 notes of thanks, and then we're going to have Ned come, and he just wanted to say a word as well. We won't embarrass you just real quickly here. So, Delia, can you read for us?
Thank you. All right. This one says, Bruce, hello from hot and humid South Africa. Stacy and I are so grateful for the time that you took to connect with us and welcome us to the Bonavista family. You met with us on multiple occasions, taking the time to get to know us and our story. You even visited us in Fernie when we were preparing for South Africa. Your heart and passion for missions has been obvious. Thanks for the time and effort you've invested. Blessings. Joy and Stacy Volk. There's number 1. This one's, hi, John. Thanks for inviting us to share something. I'd be glad to offer a brief word of appreciation for Bruce. We are deeply grateful for Bruce's many years of faithful service as missions chair. He has been a steady advocate for our ministry and his care for us, both personally and in how he represented us before the congregation, has been a real blessing. We are thankful for the way he has encouraged us, supported us, and walked with us through both the joys and the challenges of ministry. His wisdom and heart for missions has meant so much to us, and we're grateful that he will continue to guide and advise the new team. We will be praying for him as he discerns new ministry opportunities and explore the ways God may be inviting him to serve in this new chapter. We also want to express our gratitude. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a side note. Sorry.
Did you say who that one's from?
Pardon me?
Did you say who that was from?
I did not. That is from Dan Chappell. Thank you. Okay, and third one. In my journey with skateboard ministry, Bruce was one of many early adopters and played a key role, especially in those early years when relatively nothing felt figured out. I had little idea of what ministry was actually going to look like, and even less of how to convey that in a meaningful way to get people on board. It meant so much to have Bruce not only on board, but championing this ministry with me. All along the way, me and my team have felt so supported by BEMC, and Bruce played a huge part in that, especially in our season of ministry covering transitions and mergers. Bruce and his team at BEMC were a big part of what got me through what I was feeling like giving it all and throwing in the towel. Bruce has consistently created space for us, a ragtag group of skaters, and I'm hugely grateful for that. Excited for you, Bruce, in this season of what's next and getting to spend time with your family, being a grandpa.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad. I knew I had the chance to grab a mic, so I was going to just say thank you to the congregation for including me in the budget. That's a gift. That's amazing. And there's so many more that donate personally. That's just such a gift. And thank you to the leadership of this church. So that starts with the board. And Travis and Adam, as you're representing the board here, you guys are a gift, and John and the staff are too. And they've brought Bruce on. You don't know the work that Bruce has done. The missions budget is easily the biggest budget of the church, right? And this team is managing that, and they're doing it with integrity and a lot of work, because they are representing you and choosing the places that that money goes. And I want you to know that they are doing the work and doing it. I meet with Bruce at least once a month. I think it's at least once a month. And he goes, I mean, it's not a grilling, but he's going over, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Where are we choosing to invest? And so the way that Bruce has led this committee is really honoring to the congregation. And you would do well to appreciate that and feel full trust in it. And you set the bar high, Bruce, for whoever comes after you. And I hope that we can continue our coffee regardless. But thank you for your work and for your care for us.
I am so blessed to see surrounded by such great people. And I will say, I don't do any of this by myself. I do this because the Spirit strengthens me, and because I have a great missions team, and we have a great pastor who wholeheartedly supports missions and is really involved with it, and that means a lot.
This was about you, sir. Can we just thank Bruce one more time for 8 years? 8 years. It's plugged in. Bruce, I will say a little birdie let me know that you have a particularly favorite restaurant in Canmore. And so in about a half an hour, an e-gift is going to come to your inbox. Shibe wants you to take her with you. But I hear you get some, I hear you get, how did she know? Yeah. Anyways, we're so grateful. 8 years is, that's not a short amount of time, and just so grateful for all that you've done in that, leading that team. No. Thanks, Peter. Any suggestion? Anyone knows a Mac? I don't know why this is not working. Blame Justin? Yeah, it was all working until Justin. Uh-oh. Okay. It was. You sure you don't just have a blue slide? With help like that. Okay, we just want to walk through a few things that are coming up. Rats. Smack it? No, I'm not acting it out, no. But we do have a number of things coming up we just wanted to bring your attention. I know many of them you will see in the newsletter. Some of these you could consider save the dates. That's disappointing. Technology. The first, and this is beginning tomorrow. Have we got any other registrations, Kim? Well, it may not be happening then tomorrow, but right now the plan is that Grief Share would begin. Do you want me to take it to the back? Sure, if they can. I just don't remember the list when you take it away from me like that. So, a duck walks into a bar. Ouch! That's it. Go Seattle, I'm supposed to say? Go Seattle? I would never do anything so divisive like that. Go Canada, sure. Hey, there we go. Thank you to our wonderful tech people. Thank you so much. Okay, so Grief Share. I think if we don't hear from you today, we're probably not running Grief Share at this time. Is that fair to say? So Kim is our fearless leader. That is intended to be starting tomorrow evening here at the church. If you don't know what Grief Share is about, you can chat with Kim or myself. It really is a brilliant ministry to those who are walking through those seasons of loss. And yeah, Kim has led that a number of times here. And we would love to see that go ahead because we know it means an awful lot. I think right now we only have a single person registered, and we do need, I think, 3 or 4. So that is planned. We'll see where that goes. Just want you to know this is just something to keep in mind that you can be praying for our leadership. But on February 20th and 21st, Friday evening and Saturday, our elders and staff will be gathering for a time of team building and growth and learning and some strategizing and planning and praying for the congregation and giving ourselves to all of those things that sometimes you can't. Taking 15 minutes or 20 minutes at an elders meeting doesn't quite get you there. You need more expansive set of time. And so we'll be doing that in a couple weeks, and we would really covet your prayers. You can move on to the next. Yes, so faith and finances. One of the real great things right now in the church is that we have a much more robust finance team than we had in the past. We just got a number of people who are giving leadership there. So John Soko chairs that committee, works with Bob Chapman, Doug Horton. Who else we got? Brad, he's not here though. Brad Graham, and then kind of by extension, Rudina Barty. She's been helping with a number of our faith and finance seminars. She works as a financial planner with Royal Bank of Canada, and just happy to bring kind of her knowledge just to help us as we grow in our stewardship. And in March is our next seminar, and it's on everything to do with taxes. And so there will be a registration opportunity for that. I know, really glamorous, but again, stewardship is a matter of handling the things God gives us well. So we would encourage you to sign up for that. Men's retreat. Justin, I thought you were going to mention this when you talked about youth, but you would never do something like that. Men's retreat is happening at River's Edge. I think maybe Noella might have mentioned this as well. Do you want to say anything?
It's just not like any other men's retreat I've been to, and I encourage you to try it out on some.
So Justin says, please talk to me. That's what he said. But it sounds like a great time. Justin actually got to go with Andrew, who is the director at River's Edge, down to this same retreat, but hosted in Georgia last year. And just couldn't shut up about it when he came back. And so we said that we should participate in the one that's happening in our own neighborhood. And so he's kind of giving some energy and leadership to that. We would love to see just a whole schwack of our guys join in with others from the EMC.
It's led by men in the business world and in the work world who are following Jesus where they're at. So it's really special. Yeah.
Awesome. Next, Stillness Retreat. And Susanna's not here. But we've been running this for the last 3 years now, I think. There was a bit of a break for COVID. It's a 24-hour retreat. This also takes place at River's Edge, down at what used to be, I don't know what it was called now, but it's at the Chalet. It's from a Friday evening to a Saturday evening. It's a guided time. Just can't say enough about it. It's already on my calendar. Again, you can register for that through our website, and certainly you could talk with Suzanne. She'd be happy to tell you more about that and what that time looks like. Next, Alpha, question mark. One of my convictions is that churches, it's not that churches who offer Alpha grow, but it does seem to be that churches who have an intentional focus on sharing the gospel, speaking about it, not just hoping it leaks out of us, are churches that are intentional then about things like inviting friends and sharing the gospel in our own lives as we go about our day. And so this is not just about who comes, but about what it reminds us as a church to be and to do and to lean into. And so I'm hoping that we can run Alpha again this year. We've had some great leaders over the last couple years, and I know we're just trying to sort out who can lead and when and what. So there's always travel plans, and vacations fall at right in the middle of an Alpha program. I think it's 11 to 13 weeks. Lori, do you recall offhand? 13 weeks? 11 weeks? 13 weeks. And so it is a long time. And so having a team of people to help make that happen is really, really important. So if that is something that you have interest in participating in, either with food or with table leadership or larger leadership, please don't hesitate to let me know. And we're just going to see if we can pull a group together and have that happen this spring. My suspicion is that that would be happening after Easter, since Easter is early April this year. All right, this one, and then actually, if you can just go to the next slide, there should be a, there you go. So April 25th, we are going to be hosting, so David Goreski, he preached at one of our services when we were still at the Baptist Church. He's the president of the Evangelical Fellowship of Canada. He is actually also their head theologian. He's done a lot of thinking around the issue of made in Canada. And I just, it's really become a part of my conviction that this is something that we need to give some thought and consideration to, how we interact with it ourselves, how we talk about it with friends and family. More and more, this is not just, I heard of someone who heard of someone who heard of someone who this was a thing their family was going through. It's becoming much more common, and it's kind of at our doors in a sense. And so we want to know how we can faithfully walk with this, we can steward our lives in this country when this is one of the realities of our land. Now, the seminar itself on April 25th is going to look different depending on laws that are or are not passed in March by the government around whether medical assistance in dying is permitted for those purely with mental health issues or not. And so what is actually going to be included in this has yet to be determined. A very similar seminar was held at Center Street last fall, and coming out of that, they've said we want to make a few tweaks and changes. We would love to fill this place. And so, two things. One, this is first and foremost, I said, I don't know enough about this, I need to learn, and I want our church to learn. So if you are willing and interested and know that you want to come right now, click on that link with your cameras even now and register for this. We want to make sure we have a good turnout. But secondly, we're hosting. We're hosting with Bonavista Baptist Church. They're kind of co-running this event with us. Mackenzie Town Church wanted to be a part. They're encouraging their people to come, but can't kind of step into that co-hosting piece anymore. And so ourselves and the Baptist Church are hosts. So we need help with things like coffee and refreshments in the morning. We like to have greeters at the door. And some of those matters, and certainly there'll be some behind the scenes help with tech and whatnot. And so one, we'd love you to attend, first and foremost. That's the first call, if that's our theme today. The call is to attend. And then the second call is if you're able to help us with this. And please don't hesitate. This is also on our church's Facebook page, the public page. Feel free to share this with whomever. Invitations to this event are actually going out to about 85 other churches in Southern Calgary. So we're really committed to having a fulsome time. And there will be a light luncheon afterwards for pastors and elders and church leaders to meet with David and to hear some of the deeper kind of how do pastors navigate this as well. So, and certainly please be praying for this event. Okay, enough on that one. If we can, we got one last slide. You can just, I think there's like 5 more items. You can just throw them all up here. We'll rattle these off real quick. Our denomination has a regional gathering coming up in Medicine Hat in April, and we always like to be represented there. That, you'll notice by the dates, is the same weekend that we're already hosting the MAID seminar here on Saturday. We did book ours first. The denomination was late. But if anyone has interest in learning about what our denomination is focusing on or would be interested in representing us, please speak to myself or anyone on the elders team about that. Justin, you've got a youth retreat coming up early May. It's going to be awesome. Youth will hear more about that and their families through email and updates coming up. Our annual general meeting, where we look at those revised numbers, or the review numbers that John Stocco mentioned, is after church on May 24th. So we'll be redoing that here again. You can put that in your calendars and plan to join us for that important meeting. Teenagers, that was already discussed. 55 plus, I know Phil Estabrooks would not be shy to talk to you about teenagers. EMC Family Camp. One of the things we thought it would be good for us to do is to see how we can re-up our relationship with River's Edge. And this church has a long history with the family camp that River's Edge has hosted on behalf of our denomination. And we certainly just want to encourage families to give consideration to that. If that's something that you want to be a part of, and funding is purely the only reason that you wouldn't go, there might be ways that we could help with that. And certainly Noella is looking for those who would be interested in coming and working with her out there as well. And then the Gleaners mission trip, those dates are correct, Phil? Okay. And that is not just a seniors trip, right? Anybody who wants to go can speak to Phil about that, and or Mary, or I think the Sawatskis, and they'll tell you more about that great trip, and then VBS, and that's already been discussed. So lots happening. There's several other things that could go up there, but we're still in the working on. And so we just certainly encourage you to be in prayer for our ministry leaders and volunteers. Many of these things that you see up here are being led by people who aren't getting paid to do it. And then as staff, we just get the privilege of walking along as they give leadership in these important ways. So pray for those who look after things like Grief Share and Alpha and on down the list. We're just really grateful to each who gives leadership. That is everything that we have planned. We did want to make space for questions from the floor, and I'm sure Adam and Travis would be thrilled to answer all your questions. So our ushers they've got mics, and we just wanted to provide opportunity. It may be that we'll have to come back to you later with answers if we don't have them right off the cuff, but are there questions for any of the staff or for the elders team in regards to the ministries of the church, things discussed today or things not discussed that we can either answer or go to work for an answer before we close today? No questions. Everyone just wants to get their chicken wings in the oven. Oh, sorry, I missed it. Oh, Mr. Stocco.
Yeah, just a belated comment on the budget. I would not want people to think that budget involves everything that we can think of we would have liked to have done in 2026. It's been said that a man's reach should exceed his grasp, and that goes for a church too. Our vision should always be greater than what we can see that we can accomplish in the next coming year. And one of the things that in my mind is I think that a church of this size should have at least one or two more missionaries on our roster. And also I'd like to see us have a greater impact on our community and our city, and I have no idea what that looks like, but if anyone does, talk to an elder. Plant the seed.
That was very good. John has ideas, and if you have questions about it, talk to an elder. That was very well done, sir. Excellent. Question?
More just a comment. I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you've done in putting this together and all the planning you guys do throughout the year that we just totally aren't really aware of. The long hours, the late nights, the numerous coffee breaks, and everything else that you guys do just to help keep the church running. As someone who is studying church finances and sees how churches fall and decline, this is truly, we're blessed by God to not have to have some of the struggles that churches do where they have to combine with other churches where there's enough money to get. So God's really blessed us, and part of it is the ministry here. So I do agree with John that, we should always be trying to do more for the community because that always is best for the churches. The more churches reach out, the better the church always does, from my knowledge of how churches die and fall. The more closed off they are, the more they die out. So that's just one. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks, man. Well, since you said that, I trust that you'll be gracious and forgiving. I did have one small update myself to give that I forgot to give. I just want to speak very quickly. One of the questions that often gets raised is around why we don't do announcements in church. And I don't want to split the church over this, so please don't split. But I do want to share a couple of reasons why we have made a decision to forego 99% of our announcements in church. So several months ago, this began with a conversation amongst the staff, and we collectively decided to stop doing announcements in church services, and lots of questions have been raised. First reason why we are looking to eliminate as much as possible announcements in our service is that we want our Sunday service to focus predominantly on worship and not the events that also take place outside of the church service. This is a bit of a shift, or a lot of a shift, in our church culture, we recognize. Community life is extremely important to the church family, but we also don't want that life to serve as a distraction from the primary focus of our time in this room on Sunday mornings. And so we want to aim for a space in the sanctuary where we can meet with God, learn from God, and honor Him, and we want to keep the focus to those things. Great news, we are a growing church, which is awesome, slow and steady, but we are growing. But with growth comes events and more things that people want airtime for. And so we needed to decide what gets announced in front of the entire congregation as more and more ministries want to share what's going on. So a good general rule of thumb that we're trying to follow is to look at whether your messages or your announcements affect more than 50% of the congregation. If it doesn't, then our feeling is at this time we need to find other ways to bring it to the congregation. The majority of our announcements that people request are for a niche, and so we don't want to say they're unimportant, but we do want to be more effective in how we share those. So here's an interesting statistic I just came across a couple weeks ago, and it's really baffled me. If you take each generation who are attending church and you figure out their average attendance, so this is what is the average attendance of churchgoers within a particular generation. The lowest generation is roughly 1.4 Sundays per month, and the highest is around 1.8. Which means when you pull everyone together who goes to church and you figure out the average how often churchgoers go to church, the average today is roughly between 1.6 and 1.8 Sundays a month, which is, okay? Now, what does that have to do with announcements? Having announcements in a service really is no longer an efficient way of getting things out. If we announce your thing on one Sunday in church and people are only coming on average less than twice a month, having the onstage announcement would need to be done week after week. And so because of the first 2 points, we really are trying to find other ways to make sure that your messages get out. It is not that we're not supportive of the things that we want to do in this church. Clearly, there's a lot of wonderful things happening, but we do want to find other ways to do that. So, more video promotions, more brochures being handed out at the door by ministry leaders who want to get your attention, perhaps. Phone campaigns. I still actually would contend that the most effective way to get people out to your thing is a phone call. We just don't call anyone anymore. And other ways of getting these things out. So I know that for some it's not preferred because that's what we do in church, right? We mention what happens. And so we ask for your patience if that's not what you're hoping for, but at the same time, we do feel that gathering here to worship and give our attention to God, both in song and through our gifts and through our time in the Word and through the missions presentations and the children's events and all of those things that take place is really the best way for us to spend our time here on a Sunday morning. So that being said, Travis, you want to come and send us home? Please.
Thanks, John. Okay, to close it up, we have to officially adjourn the meeting. So the motion is, you guys. Okay, the motion is to adjourn the meeting, and Phil and Don Swatsky have given that very enthusiastically. Okay, all in favor of adjourning the meeting? You guys, thank you for being here. Appreciate you spending the time. And again, thanks to Bruce for 8 years of service. So, okay, have a good day, you guys. Enjoy the sun.